Hey, is Tanner okay? He took a nasty Jap round. Holy crap, look at this thing, man. I don't know they made Arisakas like this. Yeah, I'm keeping this thing and then selling it for way more than it's worth when I get back.
Greetings. You've been drafted to the Pacific Theater. It's not 1941.
It's 2025. Are you ready to die? Gentlemen, World War II saw a massive advancement in technology and how militaries would conduct themselves on the battlefield. One such example would be that of airborne operations. Many countries realized the high potential that airborne troops offered in seizing critical objectives in their military campaigns. And the Empire of Japan was no exception to the rule. Now, typically airborne operations get a little bit tricky. When you start throwing dudes out of a perfectly good airplane, things are bound to go awry, and the Germans would learn this on the island of Crete. Their operations started off with some issues as they would jump. I know I got so tired walking over here. Their operation would start with some issues. As the Fallschirmjägers would jump, their weapons were in a separate canister, and they would end up on the ground without their main go-to fighting rifles. This was a lesson that they had to learn the hard way. And America didn't learn that problem, baby. Speaking of airborne operations, a plane has just showed up. Could that be the enemy? The Imperial Japanese Air Force? The Navy, I should say, the Naval Marine Paratroopers? It's kind of confusing, if I'm being honest. The Imperial Japanese Army is a little bit different. Now, though the Crete operation would pretty much end with a German victory, they had some rough goes of things. And for them, it would really turn off the whole Fallschirmjäger idea for pretty much the rest of the war, minus a few different one-off operations. Now, the Japanese saw this and they thought, wow, paratroopers are cool, let's do that. But they had a big problem. Japanese rifles are actually pretty long given the size of the Japanese infantrymen that would be wielding them. At the time in Japan, the average size of a Japanese soldier was around 5'3". They were like 120 pounds.
They would have stood like this. Oh!
That's pretty short. That's like the go-to height for a nice short girl you would want to date. Now, it's not a go-to height for if you want to breed massive Division I athletes, but nonetheless, I digress.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So a big problem they had is they realized that they were doing the same thing where they would drop their soldiers separate of their fighting equipment in different canisters. And they wanted to get around that. So they developed a weapon using the already existing rifles that they had. They would develop the Type 2 TERA rifle, or the Type 2 Paratrooper rifle, of which we're going over today on Administrative Results. Whoa! Oh no, enemy aircraft inbound.
Hey, you guys got any swords? I'll buy a sword from someone. You guys got anything? I'll settle for a bayonet.
Yeah. I got something for you right here, pal. Hey, check it out. It's prime sword right here. Prime real estate.
Man, screw
That's
you,
it. Yeah,
man.
perfect
What's your
condition.
problem? Hey, what's up with you guys?
Yeah,
Come
your
on.
girl's writing
Come
me,
on.
you chump. Get
Come
the
on.
fuck out of here.
Let's pull it. You can say that, right? Because of the era?
Yeah.
It's the era of the weapon. You can be racist according to the era, okay?
Gentlemen, I know I caught you on the toilet drinking your coffee, eating your beer, whatever you may be doing, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. I greatly appreciate it. Gentlemen, this video is made possible by sponsors. Fantastic sponsors such as...
Gentlemen, carrying a firearm doesn't have to be uncomfortable. That's where Arrowhead Tactical comes into play. From hoodies, shorts, joggers, and holsters, Arrowhead Tactical was designed by shooters for shooters. As someone who likes to wear athletic clothes and be protected from dubious creatures, I appreciate what Arrowhead Tactical is doing by providing comfy clothing that is both athletic and stylish while remaining deadly in the streets. Do you have a grip on your life? Of course you don't. You watch this channel. Well, luckily for you, I can help you get a grip on your weapons platform. Thanks to this video's sponsor, Handle It Grips. Handle It Grips offering a wide variety of options when it comes to your multitude of handguns, giving you a more aggressive texture with different options, as well as a different kind of textures that they offer. If you have Glocks, Beretta PX4s, just about anything you can think of, they have cut up to throw on your desired handgun. They can't make you a better shooter, but they can give you a much more rugged and aggressive grip. And of course, a big thank you to Handle It Grips.
How did I get my hands on this? Well, in most cases, with a lot of more antiquated guns, I got it from a dead boomer. A friend of mine's friend of that age demographic passed away, and he was saying, hey, they're selling some guns. So I went to the residence and I was digging through and I saw this thing. Now, funny enough, I am not a big Arisaka guy. I don't know if you guys like to say Arisaka or Arisaka. How do you say it?
Arisaka.
You say Arisaka?
Yeah, I say it like that. Yeah.
I'll just say Arisaka. Now, we won the war, so I can say it how I want to. So I saw this particular Arisaka sitting there and I was like, well, that looks different, that looks cool, and I want it. I had no idea that it was actually a very sought after variant of the regular Type 99 Arisaka, being the Paratrooper model. With the Paratrooper models, they went through a number of different iterations. They would try out different styles of carrying it. They would start off with their 6.5 Type 38 rifle using a hinge method, then they would go to the Type 1, and eventually they'd get to the Type 2, where it uses a wedge style block, screws in, and it's a straight pull in, pull out. And I gotta give it to them, it's actually a really cool design. I'm a big sucker for takedown guns, especially those of like World War II variety. So it's pretty simple. You throw it in there, you close her up, you twist it down, you have this D-ring right here that helps you get some leverage for when you twist it in, you hit the ground and you're ready to fight. It's a pretty compact setup when you have it broken down on your person, so if you're doing airborne operations, you can keep your fighting rifle with you. Now, I gotta give it to the Arisakas. They have some really cool features about them that I think are kind of cool for bolt guns. Weirdly enough, I love that their cleaning rod uses a push button up here. You push the button, you can pull it on out, and then it locks back into place. A very fascinating thing about the Arisakas is that they would have these anti-aircraft sights. You have 3 and 2 markers on it, I would presume for hundreds of kilometers an hour, trying to lead a target that is flying past, and maybe you and the boys, drunk on sake, are trying to take pot shots at some of God's greatest aircraft in the Pacific theater. Sake bomb! That's my presumption. How effective would it be? How effective do you think it was?
If you have a group of guys, you know, they say like, you know, one guy, it sounds like a fever dream. 50 guys all with the same anti-air sights on a slow-moving plane,
Yeah.
Make a lot of sense.
That's where it becomes a little bit more interesting. At least it gives the ground troops a chance. Then we got the bolt action back here, takes 5 rounds. Close her on up. Then you have probably one of the more fascinating aspects is the safety compared to some of the other World War I, World War II era bolt guns. This one you pretty much activate by using your palm, and it's kind of a tricky if you got like sweaty palms and you're in the jungles. Then it's locked up, can't shoot, twist it back over, you can fire. Pretty simple. This one will be made in the Nagoya factory. Sadly, the parts aren't totally matching with the front of the gun versus the receiver, I should say. But nonetheless, it is still pretty stinking cool. We have Austin of Vintage Warfare here with us with his Type 99 Arisaka. Is that one on loan to you from a friend?
Mr. Boomfields and Battlesticks, or Battlesticks and Boomfields, I always get his name mixed up.
One of our Instagram pin pals lent Austin a rifle. Big thank you to that guy. We have a regular style Type 99 compared to the Type 2 Paratrooper rifle. Now, nothing looks too crazy, minus he's got the monopod there, and then he's also got a dust cover, and of course, his gun does not break down in half like my gun. What a sucker.
Yeah, but mine has a foregrip. Yours doesn't.
Oh, that's kind of sick. You
It
can do
works sometimes.
dynamic warfare with it.
It doesn't really work very well as an actual monopod, I find, but this kind of works as a foregrip.
What do you know, huh?
They didn't have them on those guys there. I don't think they ever used the monopods on the Type 2.
I could have swore they tried it on the Type 1, but then they ditched it.
They kind of, yeah.
Doing the research, guys were talking that the Type 2 also had a dust cover, but then they would always pretty much ditch them. They didn't like the rattling.
So that's kind of an overblown meme when it comes to the Arisakas in general. So people talk about that noise being an issue. If the dust cover doesn't match the rifle, it might rattle a little bit more, but you're not going to hear this rattling sound when you're firing the weapon. It's kind of, I think it's a little overstated how much it really rattles, you know, in like a combat situation.
See that being similar to like the M1 Grand Ping was getting guys killed.
Very similar to that.
I could see that. I should disclaimer, talking to a lot of guys that I talked to for this episode, there was a lot of boomerisms and FUD lore that they were trying to get across that surrounds the Arisaka market. Just trying to give you a heads up there. The next thing we have to consider is the chrysanthemum. The mum being the symbol of the Empire for their weapon systems. What you're gonna see a lot is that a lot of Arisakas are not gonna have the mum depending on their state. There's a saying, if the mum's intact, then it was a battlefield pickup. So I wanna give a shout out to Commies and Mums on Instagram. I pretty much reached out to him last night and he sent me this big write-up, actually very quickly. It was very impressive. Give a huge shout out to that guy. And he has a lot of access to some cool guns that he's done with his military time with the National Infantry Museum. And so I reached out to him and he was essentially telling me like that he had to sift through a bunch of boomer FUD lore surrounding this topic. He was saying that with the mums, it wasn't always the case. If you have an intact mum, that it's not necessarily a combat pickup. He was even saying that he would read accounts of guys picking up a Arisaka off a dead combatant, and then they would go to ship it off, and then that mum was intact when they had it, they'd go to ship it off, and when they received it back in the States, the mum was ground off. And he was saying that there was some potential US interference where they were grounding mums down as well, and it's one of those hot topics of debates, apparently. I'm not too like mummified, I should say, where I care that much. I think it's a cool rifle. I wish I had an intact mum, that'd be cool, but the gun still works. Does yours have the mum?
No, this one is also ground off. Pretty common to see them ground off.
Typically more rare. You can probably get some non-combat used ones if they captured maybe an arsenal or something like that. That is something I think is worthy of mentioning. It's a very hot topic around Arisakas, and I will say I was never a big Arisaka guy, and then going down this rabbit hole was biting off way more than I was anticipating.
Yeah, I used to kind of, I don't want to say that like when I was younger, I kind of bought into the FUD lore a little bit on Arisakas. I didn't really mess with them too much, and then I started doing it, and I fell in love with this rifle.
It's a really cool gun.
Yeah, when you're shooting like a K98, that's my personal favorite. This is definitely now risen in the ranks to my favorites. It's just a really nice, beefy Mauser. There's certain things about it, like the safety. I'm not really a huge fan of how they design the safety, but this is a really nice rifle. I mean, chrome bore rifles back in the day, that's a pretty cool feature. I think that they were a little artistic about some of the features they did throw on here. I think it's a very Japanese thing to add these air sights. It's a really cool feature on it. But yeah, no, these shoot really well. They're robust. I mean, I think the only real thing that's kind of maybe whack in the design is they had to splice the stock from two separate pieces of wood. You got one right here, but you can see that little gap. People often think this is a crack or something in the stock. It's not. It's just, for some reason, the wood in Japan wasn't good enough for making a ton of these out of a single piece of wood. That was due to necessity, not because they needed to make something I like.
They weren't thinking about the Zoomers in the year 2024.
Yeah.
Shame. Tanner! Is Tanner slang for bullshit?
No, sir.
Dirt in the rear side aperture. Your sushi pass is revoked. All right, let's test the grouping at 100 yards with the Type 2 Paratrooper rifle. Shooter! Are you ready? The earth is hot. The earth is sharp. The earth is unforgiving. Going for the target on the left. All right, 5 rounds, target on the left. Now we're gonna try out Austin's Type 99, just as a rough baseline.
Admin Sama.
Thank you, Austin-sama. Arigato. Fun fact, I'm using French moss stripper clips because the stripper clips I ordered for the Arisaka stripper clips, all came super rusted. And I wasn't gonna let those rusted pieces of junk touch my beautiful Type 2. We are so back. I am a sniper. GI, go home! That dust cover just makes so much noise. I want you to know this is God's most uncomfortable shooting platform on this earth. All right, let's go check out the results. The administrative results. Arigato banzai! Not looking great. So, Austin, I did better with the Type 2 than I did with your monopodded Type 99.
Well, I'm glad they put the features on it that mattered.
You should ask why the target's so small.
Why is the target so small?
Well, you know, the whole man-king thing. So, 3 rounds on target with the Type 2 and only 1 round with the Type 99. Abysmal, one might say. Real quick, we're gonna try it out with the M1 Garand, just because it's fun. Give me all you got! Give me all you got right now!
He's crazy enough, he'll do it!
I'll do it! I want all the white monsters in the bag right now, or this cracker gets it!
Give it to him now! He'll do it!
Good bit.
All right, now let's get a good baseline because I love me the M1 Garand. I don't know, chat. They may be way off to the right. Oh, it's shooting super right. All right, for context, this M1 sights are not aligned on the rear. Your guess is as good as mine. Just in case the Garand wet the bed, hopefully the M1 carbine will do it justice. Just like hell let loose. All right, now let's check the results. The
Administrative results.
Well, you know what? All right, face the wall. Well, gang, good news. So, technically shot a little low on this guy, but if that's from the Garand, which I don't think it is, because originally I think this is from the Arisaka. I think these two are from the Garand shooting way. The rear sight was way right, and then the carbine, not sure where it was hitting. So don't tell the War Tribunal, but. All right, well that should have finished off the job. Well, looking back at that game footage of me shooting was not great. It's probably some of my worst work yet. I'm gonna leave it in though. I realize now that what I was seeing was not actually an accurate representation of what I was doing. Sad, many such cases. Also, I have adjusted the Garand to be better for next time. Why am I like this? Now, one of my favorite things to demo is the prowess of the M1 Garand, of which a weapon like the Type 2 Paratrooper would be going against in the Pacific Theater when they're fighting the Americans. To do this, Austin will of course be firing my Type 2 Paratrooper rifle. Jordan, can you come referee? We'll see how many rounds I can get off to his 5. How close was it?
It was pretty close. You know, I want to say the Arisaka might have won.
Dang it! Scenario. You're a paratrooper in the Imperial Japanese Army, or Navy, or however it works, and you just hit the ground during an airborne operation with your Type 2 Arisaka. You must assemble it as fast as you can and start engaging the enemy. I don't have a bag or a sling or proper Japanese kit, so it's gonna be a little bit far, but awesome whenever you're ready. Whoa! Oh no, the threads. Banzai! Time?
35-45.
35-45. That's my first try. Can you do better?
Gentlemen, AAC doesn't make ammo for the Arisaka, not yet at least, but they do have a wide variety of options. I want to give them a big thank you for being the ammo sponsor of the channel. I'd encourage you, if you have ammunition needs, to go give them a look-ski, maybe inquire. They can help you where you are lacking. Big thank you to AAC.
Now, if I'm gonna be honest, when I think of my favorite small arms of World War II, the Arisaka line of weapons does not come into my mind. Typically, I am a massive simp for the American weaponry, and then of course, I love the German small arms that would come out later in the war. I think the Kar 98K is pretty nice for a bolt action, but it ain't no M1 Garand. The Gewehr 43 is pretty cool, the SCG 44 is pretty cool. I think the Enfield number 4 is not terrible. I mean, you got a 10-round box magazine that's detachable. I hate the Italian small arms. They're not terrible, but they're kind of terrible. It's my channel, I can say whatever I want. So the Japanese rifles, I will say, the not and last ditch ones, have a nice touch of craftsmanship that I can appreciate. The weapon itself is definitely well made and have some care that went into it. Am I a master at wielding it? No, I am not, but I'm also not a samurai. You gotta start your wee bark somewhere, I guess. But I will say it is really cool to check it out up close and personal and have a much more niche product of history. With the limited numbers of these being made in the terms of a massive world war, 20-some thousand-ish is not a lot. So there's not a lot of these in circulation, so it's definitely a treat to show it off. I love stuff like this. I love detachable rifles. I love the World War II history. It's a freaking blast. I don't care that it's hot. I'm having fun. I'm well hydrated, and you should be well hydrated. Now, is this the coolest gun we've ever had on the channel? Yes. Maybe. It's up to your personal interpretation. I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed the story behind it. I enjoyed the history of the foreign nations' weapons that we were going up against during World War II. It's an excellent example of something that chances are your grandfather or great-grandfather may have had to go against during their time if they were fighting, say, in the Pacific Theater. It's an interesting little look into history, seeing the small arms up close and personal that other nations would have been using during World War II, such as these bolt-action rifles, which are very reminiscent of even predating World War I. It's kind of crazy to imagine yourself as a Japanese soldier and then thinking going up against American infantry that are all armed to the teeth with much more, optimal weapons. Pretty much everything they have is all either semi-automatic or fully automatic by a certain point in the war. I know a lot of guys landing on Guadalcanal had Springfield 1903s and they're going up against other bolt actions. They still had some antiquated equipment for that time in the Marine Corps. Now eventually things would catch up and they would be pretty well armed. It's really a weird era in history to imagine. Essentially all these smaller stature dudes, because even like the average height for Americans during World War II was like 5'8". Apparently they have like 5 inches on the Japanese. A lot of these smaller stature dudes have no body armor and they're fighting each other with hunting caliber sized rounds, these massive bullets, 30-06, 7.5 Jap, 6.5 Jap. It's a really crazy thought. It's one that we kind of forget about today in our modern times. Everyone has them 5.56, 7.62x39, or 5.45. So it's an interesting little glimpse into history of a much more personal, small connection to the human suffering that would have gone into it, especially with these island hopping campaigns. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I got nothing else for you as always. I'll catch you on the flip. Banzai!